Okay, so let's go into Illustrator today. Today we're going to talk about the appearance panel. We're also going to talk about clipping masks, but let's start with the appearance panel because it is just so cool and so powerful. So first thing we're going to do, I've got my little trusty box. You know, I like my box red filled with a black stroke. Let's send this stroke and let's have it a line stroke to the outside, just so it pops out a little bit. Aligns it to the outside of the box itself. And we're going to take a look at the appearance panel. Now, my appearance panel is right here. If you don't have an appearance panel, it's up under Window, down to Appearance, or Shift F6. And we can notice in the appearance panel, it says I have a stroke of 5.6999999 on the outside. Well, let's make it 6 point on the outside, just to make it easier. It says I have a fill of red, and I can open these up to see that I can change the opacity to each one individually, or I can change the opacity of the entire thing. If I click on the opacity, it pulls up the transparency panel where I can select some of the layer fills or change the opacity. The cool thing is I can do this now individually using the appearance panel. So let's say that I wanted my stroke at 50%. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Lots of nice options here. But that's not all. Not only can I change the opacity or the blending mode individually for each item on my box, I can add to it. Why would you do that? Well, let me show you. Let's look at this ribbon down here. I've got Add New Stroke, Add New Fill, the FX panel, which we'll get to in a little bit, the Clear Appearance, Duplicate, Selected Items, and the Trash. So let's start. Let's add a new stroke, because who doesn't want a new stroke? So it added a nice black stroke, but I want purple. What happened? Look. I've got the purple stroke that's set to center over that. Well, let's set it to align inside. I now have two strokes on one object. Well, what happens if I go real crazy and add another stroke and make it yellow? And I shrink it down. I now have three strokes on one object. What? I know. Isn't that the coolest thing? It works on text too. So if I type text, because, hey, you know, that's kind of important, and I go down here and I add a stroke to it. Look, it's got my fill and my stroke. I add a nice red stroke. And of course, I've got all kinds of control over that. And change the opacity. I can do anything I want. I can add multiple strokes to it. So let's add another stroke. Well, let's say I want this one black. And I'm going to shrink it down a little bit to get this nice cool effect. Easy peasy. And again, treat it like a layers panel, so whatever's on top is what's visible. So if I drag this black stroke down, notice it goes away because it's hidden. A lot of the newbie problems come from people not having stuff in the right order. So make sure that if you want this stroke up, you bring it above. Okay? So that's the power of the appearance panel. Now, you can add multiple fills to it. Let's say I wanted to add a fill, and I've got a black fill here, and it won't overwrite my other one. So why would you use weird or other fills? Other fills can come into handy when you're doing gradients with transparent backgrounds. All kinds of really cool stuff that you can do. I'm going to delete that fill. So there's lots of little tricks and trades. Mostly I use the appearance panel for the add new stroke feature, but you can add multiple cool effects to it as well. The only thing I want you to worry about today is under distort and transform and transform. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to make my box just a little bit smaller and I'm going to move it up into the corner here. Alright, so distort and transform. So FX, distort and transform, and transform. Now we click the preview. We're going to say we want 3 copies and we're going to move them horizontally. And once it's to the thing, just stick your cursor in here and arrow up. And all of a sudden you have 4 copies. Okay, so I've got 1. That works well. I've got 4 across. Probably go with 3. So let's just add 2 copies. And again, put your cursor in the horizontal box and just arrow up until you get the width that you want. And click OK. Well, now I want copies going vertically. Oh, well that's easy enough. Again, notice here's the transform. We just go and we add another transform. Distort, transform. Says it will apply. Always say apply new effect. I don't know why it does that. But let's do 2 more copies. But this time let's go vertical with them. And again, make sure the preview's clicked on. Click in your box and just push the up arrow until you get them how you want. Now we have, if you look at our appearance panel, 2 instances of transform. We've got a bunch of strokes. Everything can be controlled individually. We can control the fill opacity to different. We can control the stroke opacity for each instance. Okay, so I've got these. Watch, this is a cool thing. If I click on this box and I resize it, watch what happens. They all resize because it's one object. It is not multiple objects. It is one single object that has been created using the appearance panel. Now you can use this to create some really cool star effects. Let's do that. Let's do a little shooting star real quick. So we'll grab a star. We'll do a little shooting star. And I guess we got to make it yellow because hey, that's what it is. Well, we look over here, we see we've got a stroke on it. We've got a fill on it. So let's add the FX of distort and transform down to transform. Let's turn on our preview. Let's make 4 copies. And let's move them horizontally. Let's also move them vertically. And let's change the scale of them so that, and we can just do this so they kind of shoot up into the air. Now again, I want more horizontal. I click in there and click up. More vertical, just click in here and use your arrow up. And now we have a shooting star. Real cool, real easy. Appearance panel, real powerful. Now, let's do the clipping mask. Clipping mask is so simple that you'll be wondering why you've never used it before. Well, chances are you've never used it because I haven't showed it to you. I'm going to take a star and I'm going to draw a star in here. Oops, that was a little big. And I'm going to bring it over here and, you know, make a nice little star. I'm going to select all. I'm going to go up under Object. I'm going to go down to Clipping Mask, and I'm going to make. And there we go. I now have a clipping mask in the shape of what I want. So my object is all still there. If I click on it, I can go back under Object and release the clipping mask, and everything is still there. Nice and neat, and I can get rid of my clipping mask. Show you again. Let me use a circle this time. Draw a nice circle around him. Let's see. Yep, that's what I want. I select all, object, clipping mask, make, or Command 7, and there we go. Now your clipping mask can be filled with any color, or in the last example that you saw, no colors. It doesn't matter as long as you have the outline that you need and you make your clipping mask by doing Command 7. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it.